Hello, my name is Martin Roberts. I'm Curatorial Manager here at the Herbert Art Gallery and Museum. Brought to Light was really conceived as a way of displaying many of the works from our own collection. We've been through a period over the last couple of years with a lot of really fantastic things happening here at the Herbert, linked to the City of Culture year. It's meant that we've been able to bring in a couple of really high-profile and exciting exhibitions, starting with the Turner Prize exhibition, and then, of course, the Daniel Lismore exhibition. This has meant that we haven't really been able to display so much of our own material just because of the lack of space. So now we've got a really great opportunity to bring some more items out from our own collection, get them out of storage, and put them on display for people to see. The exhibition has become a kind of a survey, really, of the priorities for the museum's collecting over the last 65 years. In 1957, the museum appointed its first art director, John Hewitt, and he was really given the task of forming what was then a contemporary collection for the museum. John Hewitt was interested in collecting what he described as British life and landscape. He was very aware that Coventry was a manufacturing city and that most of the people who lived here worked in manufacturing industries, and he wanted to build a collection that people could easily relate to. This sculpture of old ladies on a park bench by Jack Greaves was the first sculpture acquired by the museum, and it fits really well into the theme of British life and landscape that John Hewitt was interested in. At the time, it was quite popular to show scenes of ordinary people going about their everyday lives. This theme of British life and landscape is still very important to the museum's collection today. I mean, one of our most recent acquisitions is a painting by Coventry artist George Shaw. It was something that we acquired in 2011. We had a major retrospective exhibition here of his work. It was the year that George was shortlisted for the Turner Prize, actually. So this is a view of Tile Hill Estate in Coventry, which is the estate where the artist George Shaw grew up. And he's done many works which show different aspects of Tile Hill Estate. He works using Humbrol enamel paints, so he gets these very detailed and very vivid sort of scenes which are very lifelike in a way, and really evocative, I think. The museum has always collected artworks which show views of Coventry going right back to the 17th and 18th century. So this is a really nice way of bringing that part of the collection right up to date. One of our priorities over the last 10 years or so has been collecting works on themes of conflict, peace and reconciliation. And this relates to Coventry's role as City of Peace and Reconciliation, which is something that developed in the aftermath of the Second World War, really. This drawing by Ross Jones is one of the first pieces that we acquired for the Peace and Reconciliation collection. It's called Exodus, and it's about the forced evacuation of people from their homes as a result of conflict. It's a scene that is immediately familiar to us today from countless news programmes. As you can see, it's quite a minimalist rendition of that. Each item is rendered in very intricate detail with this expansive white background, and that, I think, encourages contemplation and reflection on the part of the viewer. This is a painting by the South African artist Gavin Janchers. It's one of a series of 7 paintings that he did as part of a residency at the West Indian Association in Coventry in 1986. And he painted this series of 7 paintings called the Corabra series. Corabra means to go and come back again, and the series is all about the transatlantic slave trade. We have the first and second in the series in the collection here. As you can see, I mean, it's an immensely powerful work. There's a real strong sense of foreboding in this work. We see these sharpened stakes descending to form a kind of prison, really, and beneath that there's an object which represents a tomb, and in the foreground you can see this sort of the dark earth stained with blood. One of our main collecting priorities over the last few years has been to try to collect artworks by artists from underrepresented groups, because we're very aware that there's a historic imbalance in the collection, and also we're interested to collect works which reflect different experiences and different sort of viewpoints in society as well, whether it's on issues like disability and how people with disabilities are perceived, or issues around race, for example. So the 2 paintings you can see behind me are good examples of some of our more recent acquisitions. One painting is by an artist called Nahem Shoa. It's called Giant Head of Gbenga. Nahem is very concerned to improve the representation of black people in museum and art gallery collections. He got in touch with us to offer this painting as a donation, because he'd noticed that representations of black people in art galleries and museums often tend to be in very subservient roles, and he was very keen to counterbalance this. He's placed a number of his works in museum collections around the country, and it's obviously become a really important thing for him, but also a great thing for us to have such a strong and powerful and positive painting in the collection. The piece on my left here is called Victoria, and it's created by an artist called Lisa Gunn. Lisa Gunn was injured in an accident, and as a result of that she needed to use a wheelchair, and she found that people's perception of her really changed after that. So this work is called Victoria. You can see that she's actually shown herself wearing a Victorian style corset, and partly this is to show some of the restrictions had been placed on her life, really, through her physical condition, but also by society as well. But on the other hand, it also has connotations of victory, and I think the way that she portrays herself in this work is as a very strong woman, and she kind of forces the viewer to physically look up to her, whereas in real life, as she says, she often finds that people are physically looking down on her. This is kind of her way of turning the tables, if you like. This piece is known as the Coventry Sculpture. It's by the Hungarian artist Peter Laszlo Perry, and it was commissioned for the Herbert when this building opened in 1960. So it was actually created in situ. So this sculpture represents the people of Coventry at work and at play, and I think it really captures the mood in the city in the 1950s and 60s when Coventry was rebuilding itself after the Second World War. It really conveys the sense of energy and industry that was sort of going on in the city at the time.